Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Patrick Costigan. I work here in the Office of the Secretary at HUD. Welcome to our 5th webcast in a series on HUD's recently issued Notice on the Rental Assistance Demonstration, or RAD. First, let me start by introducing my colleagues from HUD. To my far left, Will Levy in our Office of Public and Indian Housing. Joining him, Lisa Floyd, also in our Office of Public and Indian Housing. Hopefully by now you're familiar with RAD, authorized by Congress last November in HUD's 2012 budget, in our appropriations bill based on our 2012 budget. You may have also viewed previous RAD webcasts that have been posted on our webpage, which is www.hud.gov/rad. In this webcast, we will overview the draft RAD public housing application. Along the way today, we encourage you to send in email questions, particularly as they relate to the RAD public housing draft application. Please email these questions to us at rad@hud.gov, rad@hud.gov. And it would be very helpful to us to offer your name and your organization along with your questions as we go along today. Once we conclude our overview today, we'll take your questions. Also, to remind you, if you would like to submit public comments on the application materials, please visit www.hud.gov/rad for instructions on how to do so. Please note that the public comment period for the application materials has now been extended. These comments for the application are due on April 10th. What's been extended is the comment period on the entire notice, which has been extended to April 23rd. But to be clear, we're still looking for your comments on the application by April 10th next week. Most of you know that the purpose of RAD is to generate additional sources of financing for both public housing and 3 of the multifamily legacy programs, or the so-called orphan programs, Section 8 Mod Rehab, Rents Up, and the RAP programs. The main goal of RAD is to test the conversion of public housing assistance, converting public housing assistance to long-term project-based Section 8 rental assistance to better access private debt and equity investments, to help address the public housing capital backlog, and to stem the loss of this very much needed public housing inventory. Today's RADcast is meant to provide an overview of the draft public housing RAD application form. We hope to provide you with an understanding of the logic of the application, its main objectives, how it works, and what you can do now to prepare yourselves before the final application is available. In a few months, following revisions that we've made to the draft application based on your comments, HUD will release a finalized version of the application. At that point, we'll produce an in-depth webcast training on using and submitting RAD applications. That training will provide a step-by-step walkthrough of each component of the application. Before we get to the application itself, I want to ask Lisa if you can help us with explaining where we can find a copy of the application draft so that folks can begin to familiarize themselves with the application itself.
Sure, Pat. The Excel-based RAD application, along with the proposed RAD notice, can be obtained from the RAD website, www.hud.gov/rad. Currently, you can download the draft version of the application, which is pre-populated with fictitious sample data for the purpose of demonstrating the functionality of the form. This RADcast will be furnished with screenshots of the draft application, so there's no need to have it in front of you right now. When the final application is posted, as Pat mentioned, we are dedicated to walk with you step by step through the entire document. The application is Microsoft Excel based. We chose this software to host the application because it's accessible, familiar, and can automatically perform all the summations and calculations required in this application. I want to point out that while the application is in draft form and not fully functional yet, we thought it was important to post a version of the initial RAD notice so that PHAs can get an early introduction to the type of information HUD will be seeking in considering RAD conversion applications. Our purpose today is to focus on the basic content that we will be looking for. We are continuing to improve this application and welcome any feedback that you have on it. When the final application is ready, it will also be accessible from the RAD webpage. At that point, it will be pre-populated with data for your selected property.
Thanks, Lisa. Let's start to walk through the application. Will, can we start with you? Can you explain what we had in mind when we created the application? In other words, what were our main objectives in putting together the structure of this application?
Sure, Pat. So let me first say that one of our main intentions in developing the application, as well as the application process, was to make it as easy as possible for a PHA to submit an application. This is not meant to be a Hope 6 or Choice Neighborhoods type application process that we recognize can be expensive to prepare. At the same time, since only a limited number of public housing units can participate in RAD, no more than 60,000, we want to make sure a PHA and its partners have thought through the conversion of its project and all related costs. From HUD's perspective, the application really can be seen as serving three main objectives, and I think we have a screenshot of this. First, physical and financial feasibility. The most important role of the application is to demonstrate to HUD that the project will be physically and financially viable once it converts. Projects will need to be able to show this in order to be eligible. Of course, you may not have all the data at your disposal right now, but we ask for your best estimates at least. Second, this application is designed such that all of the ranking factors, which you'll find described in detail in the notice, can be scored automatically without additional HUD review. Finally, approval from the board and financing source. At this stage, it's important for HUD to see that the PHA's board, as well as any potential sources of financing, have reviewed the application and find it to be reasonable. And what that means is the board has signed off on proposed financing plan and anything the PHA is proposing to do to earn ranking factor points, such as rehabbing to a green building standard. In addition, we want to see that any third-party sources of financing, that's debt or equity, each, have seen your analysis of financial feasibility and believe it to be reasonable.
Thanks, Will. That's very helpful. Let's stick with the financial feasibility for a moment, if we could. What are public housing authorities going to have to do to demonstrate financial feasibility in the RAD application? What's that consist of?
Okay, so what we're looking for is really a basic real estate analysis that would be typical in the development or rehab of any affordable housing. Many of you will remember the TRA leverage calculator that we released a couple of years ago. The feasibility analysis found in the RAD application really follows a very similar basic logic, though it asks for some more detail. We recognize that this is a different way of thinking about rehab than some public housing agencies are accustomed to. This is, of course, on purpose. For much of public housing, the capital fund has proved inadequate for making the life cycle repairs that housing, especially of this age, needs. RAD offers a different approach and one that affordable housing owners have used for a long time, and that's the Section 8 platform. The Section 8 platform allows PHAs access to other forms of private and public capital, which PHAs under RAD can use to rehabilitate properties. Now, when we say that one of the main objectives of the application is to demonstrate financial feasibility, we can really break that down into three questions or concepts, and I think we have another screenshot for this. First, we want to demonstrate that the stream of funding that a PHA receives for a project under the Section 8 HAP supports the operations and maintenance of the project. Second, what are the capital needs of the project, and what is the project's net operating income to support potential debt? And finally, what additional sources of financing will be necessary, or does the PHA want, to meet the rehab needs of the project? If there's a financing gap, how does the PHA propose to fill that gap?
That's a great overview, Will. Just to kind of recap, this is basic financial analysis to sort of assess the feasibility of your project, look at your AMP, see which might fit the best, look at potentially what income can be generated, your net operating income to support debt, figure out what your capital needs are, make sure that you have appropriate funding for that, and we fully expect that the financing that's going to be required to meet the capital needs for the project is probably going to require more than conventional financing or just debt alone. I know you've prepared an example on this. Can you take a minute to kind of walk us through, hit on the financial feasibility points in the example that you've got for us?
Yeah, sure, Pat, and I think we have a few slides on this as well. So first, let's start with a general profile of a project, and we've just made this project up. Here's a 100-unit family project built in the 60s. A recent physical needs assessment shows that it's got over $19,000 per unit in rehab needs, so in total over $1.9 million. Right now, it's got 4 months of operating reserves in store, about 218,000 in total. And if we convert its current funding into a Section 8 HAP contract, it turns into $704 per unit month, which is about 93% of the FMR. Now, I just want to take a moment to say that HUD intends to post for every public housing project what the presumptive Section 8 contract rent would be for a project based on its current funding. And hopefully that'll be up in the next month or so. Also, for this project and for this example, as we go through just the loan terms that we've made up, it's a 30-year amortization, 6.5% interest rate, which includes mortgage insurance premium, and a 1.15 debt service coverage ratio. In this case, it's an FHA loan. So next, you'll construct the project's pro forma stabilized cash flow, which is basically just an income and expense statement. You start with the total income the project will bring in, and most of that will come from rents, the Section 8 HAP plus tenant rents, which form the gross potential rent, and that, again, HUD will post on our website. After adjusting for vacancies and bad debt, and then deducting operating expenses, which includes administrative expenses, utilities, maintenance costs, et cetera, and making deposits into a capital replacement reserve so the project is viable going forward too, you get to the project's net operating income. The net operating income, along with the loan terms, will determine the maximum amount of debt service the project could support. In this case, net operating income of $140 per unit monthly could support a little more than $1.9 million in mortgage proceeds. So then we'll construct a development budget to understand all of the costs that will be associated with rehabbing this project. We know the project's capital needs from the physical needs assessment. In addition, there's a variety of other costs, such as paying for the physical needs assessment itself and environmental reports, loan fees, developer fees, and others. Here's just a sample. These costs will vary project to project and market to market. In this case, total costs associated with this rehab total to nearly $24,000 per unit. Finally, we can put together the total sources and uses for this development transaction. Now, we just saw the rehab budget for this project is nearly $2.4 million in total. The maximum loan the project could support, we saw earlier, is $1.9 million. That leaves a financing gap of over $400,000. In this case, to make the deal work, the PHA thinks it has enough funds internally to put into the project. PHA, as we saw before, has 4 months of operating reserves that it can put in. In addition, it has unobligated capital fund dollars with which to fill the financing gap. So a PHA could really fill all of this data out right now. It's got most of it on hand. It knows its project better than anyone else. Once the application is finalized, all it'll really need to do is drop the information into the application in the format that we're going to require. And so the draft application shows that format right now, though, as Lisa mentioned, that's going to change somewhat. I also want to point out that HUD plans to release a planning tool for PHAs to use within the next couple of months to help perform this very same analysis on a project in its portfolio.
Thanks, Will. That's a very helpful example. This is your basic financial analysis to kind of do the back of the envelope calculation on this. That's really the thrust of the financial application, obviously. But Lisa, there's going to be some other materials that we're looking for in the application. Can you walk us through the other things in addition to the pro forma kind of analysis that Will just walked us through?
Sure, Pat. The application starts off with some basic questions about the makeup of the project, mostly confirming the data that's contained in PIC, including public housing agency information and certain project info such as bedroom distribution. The viewers will see the bulk of the application is focused on 3 main objectives Will described earlier. In addition to a few questions related to eligibility, the vast majority of the questions relate to the physical and financial feasibility of the project. We want to see the rehab budget, stabilized flow pro forma, as well as sources and uses. To get there, we asked for data on capital needs as well as other anticipated costs related to rehab, including soft costs, costs associated with temporary tenant relocation. These components make up the total rehab budget. To construct a stabilized cash flow pro forma, HUD will provide the rent data based on current finding. The PHA will need to enter anticipated adjustments to the project rents, including vacancy, bad debt, and other income. Estimated post-conversion operating expenses such as administration, maintenance, and utility expenses, and estimated replacement reserve deposits. For each of these items in the application contains feasibility benchmarks that guide the amounts users can input. I'll talk about how that will function mechanically a little later. For a description of the actual feasibility benchmarks, please see the appendix of the RAD notice. Once complete, the form will calculate the net operating income. If the PHA is planning to finance rehabilitation needs with first mortgage proceeds, the PHA will also need to enter loan terms, which will determine how much the debt project's net operating income will support. We strongly recommend that a PHA have initial discussions with lenders to get a sense for loan terms. Finally, the PHA will have to identify all of the financing sources it plans to use to fund the rehab budget. Financing sources can include debt, 4% or 9% low-income housing tax credits, public housing operating reserves, unobligated capital funds, or any other affordable housing funding source available in their community. The final product of this effort will be a stabilized cash flow pro forma, as well as sources and uses that must show the project is financially feasible. In addition to these questions about financing, the application includes a few questions related to the competitive ranking factors described in the RAD notice. At the end of the application, the Excel form totals all the ranking factor points that the application has earned. Finally, the application informs the PHA, based on its responses, of any and all attachments that must be submitted with the application.
Thanks, Lisa. That's helpful. You covered a lot of ground. We'll be able to come back to some questions at the end. But you mentioned about the attachments. Will, can you walk us through the additional materials that we're going to be requesting in addition to the pro forma and what Lisa's just described?
Sure, Pat. So there are 5 possible attachments a PHA may need to submit. 4 of them are templates and can be found as separate worksheets within the application. As Lisa mentioned, the application will tell the PHA exactly which attachments it'll need to submit. The application will automatically populate these documents with information extracted from your application. I think we've got a list. Here we go, the board approval form. This form will be required for all submitted applications. HUD requires that the PHA hold a board meeting in which the RAD transaction is approved. The board must review and approve this form at the meeting. The idea is to inform the board about the proposed RAD transaction and document the PHA's agreement with the application's contents, as well as RAD requirements. Next, the financing letter of intent. This letter is required where third-party financing is indicated in the application pro forma, including each and every source of debt or equity. This form is designed to inform the lender or equity provider about the proposed RAD transaction. It signifies that the lender or investor has reviewed the pro forma for the subject project and considers it reasonable. Just note, a signature from the financing source is not a firm commitment. Next, the mixed finance affidavit. This affidavit is only required for the proposed conversion of public housing projects that were developed through mixed finance, where the PHA is not the sole owner. The mixed finance affidavit documents that the legal owner of the mixed finance project concurs with the terms of the application. Both the PHA and the project owner of applying will need to sign this form. And the last template is the Choice Mobility Letter. This letter is required of PHAs seeking to earn the Choice Mobility Commitment Ranking Factor, which we describe in greater detail in the notice. This letter certifies the agreement between the PHA that is contributing vouchers and the PHA or mod rehab owner that is receiving vouchers. Both contributor and recipient of vouchers are required to sign this letter. Lastly, for RAD conversions that propose to use 9% low-income housing tax credits, the application must include either a reservation letter or a completed and self-scored tax credit application in accordance with the relevant qualified allocation plan. Considering the scarcity of 9% tax credits, HUD wants to make sure that applicants seeking and relying on this resource are competitive. As you can see, there's no template for this attachment. Simply include the appropriate forms for your state.
Thanks for that, Will. I'm sensing that we'll probably get some questions about this. Yesterday, I had a chance to talk with a number of housing authority directors in New England, particularly interested in the tax credit questions. So we'll look forward to clarifying anything there again at the end of the session today. But Lisa, let's switch back to you. Let's talk a little bit more about the Excel format, how it works, what users should expect, et cetera. Can you walk us through that a bit?
I'd be happy to, Pat. I just want to point out a few basic features. The application is divided into sections. Each section has a green header. Once the project is identified through the PIC development number, many fields within the application will automatically populate with project-level data available to HUD. We strongly recommend and require that PHAs correct the information in PIC beforehand. The draft application form information that you are required to provide is shown with a gray background. As shown here, some of the fields that require qualitative inputs are equipped with a drop-down selection feature, which will become apparent when you click on the cell. There is a yellow vertical line that lies just beyond the application's printed page. Cells right to that yellow bar contain working calculations and program parameters. We're leaving those visible so you can follow along the formulas if desired. The application is equipped with bright blue squares marked with a white question mark. If you place your mouse over these squares, you'll be able to see additional information and guidance. This Excel tool contains various embedded financial parameters. If your information falls outside these parameters, you will get a red warning message. These messages will either be red flags or fatal errors. In order for your application to be accepted with a triggered red flag warning, you will need to provide an explanation that exhibits adequate compensation by other areas of your application. For example, you could propose a lower vacancy allowance if you propose a much higher debt service coverage. There's no need to be alarmed by red flags. They're actually designed to tell you what the problem is so that you may address it. If a fatal error is triggered on the application, you will need to correct the problem. Applications containing fatal errors will not be accepted. For example, a fatal error can be triggered when the de minimis threshold of total units proposed for conversion is exceeded, as shown here. Similar to red flags, fatal errors are very informative since they explain what the parameters for this application are and how to abide by them.
Thanks, Lisa. Fatal errors really aren't fatal, I think is our takeaway there, but they're meant to nudge. It sounds a little bit like TurboTax to me, that you can't get too far, but the design of it is intended to sort of present you with, here's what you need to do to address the problem. Let's talk about what we can do to get ready to prepare these final applications. What can housing authorities do right now to begin to prepare? We don't have a final application. We will soon. We need the comments. We're going to put out a final notice. But right now, what do you recommend that housing authorities focus on in preparing?
We encourage any PHA applying for conversion under Rad to begin taking key steps in preparation for the application process. First, read the notice. I know it's long, but in order to fully understand the intricacies of the demonstration, it's important to read the Rad notice, concentrating particularly on the sections pertaining to your proposed conversion preference. Secondly, I'd recommend that PHAs update PIC data. Since the applications will populate with data reserved in PIC, it's important to maintain housing authority and project information that is accurate and up to date, particularly in unit distribution for projects seeking conversion, as well as the contact information of PHA executive directors. Third, I would recommend working on the significant amendment and board approval. It is important for PHAs who are proposing conversion under Rad to note that this requires a significant amendment to the annual or 5-year PHA plan. In accordance with HUD regulations, the Resident Advisory Board is to assist and make recommendations regarding any significant amendment to the plan. In preparation for an application submission, a PHA could draft the significant amendment and secure board approval of the proposal.
I also want to point out that there's much a PHA can do right now to scope out the financial feasibility of their projects if they were to convert under Rad. The draft application provides a good sense of the data that you'll need to have ready, but really all of this is very typical of an affordable housing real estate transaction, and much of the data you'll have with you. We also strongly encourage that PHAs begin to talk with lenders about Rad, a project that they're considering for conversion, potential loan terms, and any requirements that the lenders will have.
All right, thank you both for that very informative overview of how the application form can work under Rad. As previously stated, when a final version of the application is up and ready, we'll have it posted to the Rad website, and we'll offer an in-depth training walkthrough at that time. So I want to remind folks, as has been suggested, that we'll be preparing additional materials to assist you in the conversion process, including a planning tool that Will mentioned, and other materials to assist you as you structure these transactions. We actually welcome your suggestions as we're developing these planning materials and tools. That will be very helpful. Let me just remind everyone again, in terms of the actual application form, we are asking for your comments. We are seeking those comments, and the deadline for the application form is next Tuesday, April 10th. We have extended the comment period for the complete notice to April 23rd to give you more time to go through those details, but it would be very helpful to us if you could give us some comments on the form of this application by then. I think, yes, it looks like some questions are starting to come in, so let's wrap up and let's go to the questions. Remind folks that are tuned in, it's not too late. If you just type them in, we'll be able to see them and organize them and get them up on the screen and hopefully address your questions. So we urge you to keep them coming. So the first question that's popped up here, and maybe Lisa, this might be for you, and that is, how long will the time period be for submitting applications, and how will the applications be submitted?
That's a great question. HUD estimates that it will begin accepting applications for public housing projects 60 days after the date of the issuance of the final notice, which should land in August. There is no HUD fee associated with the submission of an application or the withdrawal of an application or reward. Additionally, there's no cap on the number of project applications that a PHA may submit or resubmit. Only applications that have met all applicable submission requirements will be considered. Rejected applicants will be notified, and the PHA may choose to resubmit. At the time of submission, all required materials, including attachments, must be submitted electronically via email to radapplications@hud.gov. Attachments to applications forms that require signature will have to be scanned and submitted as PDFs.
Thank you, Lisa. As I look at this one might go to you as well. Let's try it. You've stated that the Excel document posted to Rad on the website currently is draft version of the public housing Rad application. How different will the final version be? All right, so we've been talking about a draft, and we're going to do a final. Is it going to be substantially different? What are we tweaking, or what are we doing here?
Okay. So this is another great question, and the application is currently out for public comment. When we receive the public comments, we're going to use it to guide us in developing the final application. We hope that the application will be streamlined, easy to follow, user-friendly, minimizes the opportunity for error. Although most of the information the application collects will remain the same, the format of the final version of the form and some of the design features and functions will be revised. For convenience and to minimize burden, the application will be pre-populated with the data that the department currently maintains for public housing projects.
All right, here's one more. The queue doesn't seem to have many in it, but let's take this one, see if we get anything else. And this one did come up, Will, and I'm going to direct it to you. And the question is, going to be very challenging to get 9% low-income housing tax credit reservations letters in hand before I've actually submitted my application for RAD. I'm still not clear on how exactly that will work in the application process. So can you walk us through? We know 9% are very competitive. We know the QAP, or the Qualified Application Plan process, varies by state. And so you could have a different date when you have to submit and when you could get an award for tax credits. I think that's what the questioner's looking for here. So how are we going to address that varied QAP process across all 50 states and some of our territories?
Great. Thanks, Pat. So the first thing I want to make clear is that certainly RAD allows PHA applicants to pursue 9% LIHTCs. And we're not going to require that you necessarily have the reservation letter in hand, though, of course, it would be great if you did. However, since we expect strong demand for RAD and only have authority to convert a limited number of units, we do not want to delay the conversions because some PHAs are hopeful that they can obtain 9% tax credits, which are generally oversubscribed and highly competitive. Therefore, we're asking for information that shows that the PHA has made and continues to make progress towards securing these tax credits. The PHAs must provide information on the QAP application timeline, which we would then build into the required milestones if the property is selected from the competition. In addition, it would have to demonstrate previous success in obtaining 9% tax credits and must submit a self-scored QAP application. Essentially, we would give an applicant one pass at competing for tax credits. Now, just while we're on the topic, I want to say we also strongly encourage PHAs to look at 4% tax credits, which come with tax-exempt bonds and are generally available in most states. There are no special requirements or attachments if a PHA is going this route, though they would still have to abide by the milestones described in the notice.
So let me just double back on that a second, Will. So it will really be an issue about milestones. We're going to ask you to put your financing package together. So we're going to want to see debt. We're going to want to see your tax credit application. You may not have an actual award, but it's really, we want you to self-score. We want you to tell us your QAP timeline, what to expect, and then we're going to be building into the milestones. But we really want to see the package in 6 months. Is that a fair restatement of not just tax credits, but the whole financing package?
That's exactly right. I think we just want to we want you to show us that you've got a chance of getting it, and we'll work with you with the timeline to make it happen. And because we have a limited number of awards, if your 9% tax credit application doesn't make it the first time, we'll have to play it from there. But what we're saying is you've got one pass.
So one pass, you might not get an allocation in that pass, but that wouldn't necessarily discount you from continuing to apply for RAD, presuming we have authority available. The issue that we've got to manage is how much authority under the 60,000 unit cap that we have. And so that's the logic behind the one pass. Is that basically what we're trying to say here? Okay, that's very helpful. I'm not seeing any other questions in the queue, and we are recognizing that it is Good Friday afternoon after all. But we are more than willing and available to take additional questions after this webcast today. And I think the way that you do that is being showed up on the screen now. You can submit questions to us at www.hud.gov/rad. And then the public comment deadlines are important to note. They have different deadlines here. Let's go back. April 10th, next week, is the comments on the application. And I think we're fairly clear if you go into the notice what we're looking for, but we'd really value your comments on the application. That's April 10th. On April 23rd, that's the extended deadline. The deadline had been next week as well, but we appreciate the density, complexity of the notice, so we've extended that to April 23rd. How you submit those comments is detailed in the notice, and please follow the specific instructions there. But if you do have any questions in the meanwhile, we basically have a live person behind that email address that tends to those questions, and I happen to know he's sitting on the stage today, and directs those questions to us, and as best and as fast as we can. We do try to clarify things, and we've gotten many good questions, very helpful. And I think we tried to clarify some things, so we're happy to do that. Again, I want to emphasize, this is a proposed initial notice, particularly as it relates to public housing. We are implementing the rents up and wrap portion, or section 3 of the notice, but the provisions applying to public housing are proposed. And so your comments will shape our final notice and be instructive to what we can do to make this better, to make it more viable and workable. So with that, I see no more questions. I think we'll wrap it up today. Thank you for joining us. Please pass the word that this will be archived on our webpage if you'd like to come back and take a look at this and walk through some of the examples Lisa showed us, or Will walked us through in the pro forma. It'll be there. Please pass the word, and we will be back as promised for a more detailed focus on the final application. Finally, one other notice. We do have another upcoming Rad Webcast, and that will be focusing on the mod rehab application itself. We'll again take general questions, but the focus will be on the mod rehab part. Those of us that have been through this now are familiar with it. We know that mod rehab can be done a number of different ways in the notice, and it is probably the more complex part of it. So we'll come back and we'll focus on that on April 10th at 1 p.m. Eastern Time. So if you're interested in mod rehab, please tune in then. Otherwise, thank you, and we'll be back at you soon.